So what are we doing today?
We're making some no-sew fleece tie blankets, and these are really quick to whip up. You can make one in an hour or two. Right now I'm just marking my fabric so that I can cut this in half. I'm making lap size ones, so I don't need the whole length.
Right. That crunching you're hearing is our kids eating candy canes.
That'll give me a line that I can cut on.
You don't use a chalk line or anything?
It's not really easy to. You actually can get chalk pencils for fabric, but it doesn't work really well on fleece.
Yeah. And
using the pin keeps the layers from sliding around when I cut it.
Right.
So because I'm doing a straight line, that'll work pretty easy. And if you have a cutting table with a rotary cutter, this would just like take less than a minute to just whiz across.
Just don't cut your finger off.
No, that would be a bad idea. That would turn that into a much longer project.
We know someone that did that.
Yeah. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting off the edges of the fabric. This is often where you'll find writing, the copyright of who made the fabric, and it tends to curl under. And you want a nice flat edge when you're working, so you generally always cut this off the fabric. Okay, I've laid the top section on top of my black fabric I'm going to use as a backing. And I've pinned them together, and I'm just going to cut along the bottom and the top to get the size as close as I can. It's a little bit easier to do it this way than measuring the second part. This way you know that the blankets would be pretty close in size. And because these are going to become a fringe, they don't have to be exactly the same. Fleece blankets are really, really forgiving to work with. Now I'm going to unpin them and open them up and lay them on top of each other with the wrong sides facing. You want to lay them so that it will look the same as your finished blanket you want. You want the top side of your print facing up, not the underside. Now you're going to lay your two pieces on top of each other and match them up as close as you can. Usually once you get one edge straight, the rest is okay, and if it's not, you can always just trim a little bit off. But if it's within a quarter inch or so, then you can probably just move it, because when you cut the fringe and tie the edges together, you won't see that. Once you've got your two pieces flat, you're going to take some pins and pin about 5 or 6 inches in from the edge. That way it will hold it together, but the pins won't be in the way when you're cutting your fringe. And when you're pinning these, make sure you use pins that have a large head on them, because if you use the small little all metal pins that have the little tiny heads, they can get pulled inside the fleece and you won't be able to see them. Before you can start cutting your fringe out, you need to make a template to cut a corner out of each part of the blanket. This will help it stay a square shape when you're finished. I'm doing about a 3 to 4 inch fringe, so I've cut a 4-inch square. If you were going to do a 5-inch fringe, like a longer one, then you would just cut a larger square. And this will give you a nice row of fringe on each side when you're done. And just repeat that for each corner. Okay, now that you've cut out all 4 corners of your blanket, it's time to start cutting the fringe. You decide how wide you want them. I usually do mine about an inch, inch and a half. They do not all have to be absolutely perfect. You don't need to, be measuring each piece with a ruler. That would take forever. Once you tie them in a bow, they all look pretty much the same. This is a really easy project to do that you can whip up quickly because it doesn't have to be absolutely measured out with each piece. Just take it and, I would say about that wide's good, and just cut up to the same line that you made on the side so that your fringe will be straight going across. And then come over and do it again. And just go all the way around your blanket doing this. If you were using a rotary cutter, what I would do is I would put my cutting mat on here and I would fold the edge of the blanket over it. And then I would take my rotary cutter and a ruler if you want to keep it straight because they tend to move. And I would just go up like that and cut them all really quick. And it would probably take you just a couple minutes to do the entire blanket that way. Now that you've cut all the way around your blanket, take the top piece and the bottom piece and just tie them together, like that.
Do these ever come undone in the wash?
I've never had them come undone. But if you were worried about it, you could do a double knot. Or you could actually, if you wanted to, you could take them one like this and then just twist it around on itself and bring it through to make a knot that way. But to do it that way, you need a longer fringe.
Okay.
If you were making these for a baby, what I would do, because they make nice warm toddler blankets or baby blankets, I would either make it one layer with a fringe, and like I said, loop it around and pull it through itself to make a knot. Or I would do it this way and then I would sew it just inside the fringe all the way around. That would keep it ever from opening and the baby from ever getting hurt on something like this. Because little ones are famous for trying to untie knots and getting into mischief.
Yeah.
But no, you just tie it all the way around, and once in a while you'll notice it'll start to pucker a bit.
Yeah. Just
take it and smooth it out as you go.
So we've got it all finished, tied up, all the fringes and the knots around the whole edge and the corners. And that is the final product. And I think I have a use for this. Here, now you can